Hello, welcome to my channel. My name's Alyssa and I'm here to help you read more. So I will give you tips and tricks that I have found effective for myself. I was an avid bookworm basically my whole life, and then basically as soon as university stopped, I pretty much quit reading after university because I took a bunch of English courses and it killed my passion for reading. And it's currently July. In May, I started working on reading more, and now I'm on the way to read. I've already read 20 books this year, so I'm hoping to get 40 to 50 books read by the end of the year. Because before that, I would only read 1 to 2 books a year. So I'm doing a lot better than I have been in the past. So let's get into it. The first trick that I'm going to give you, it sounds the dumbest and the craziest that it would even work, but for me, I've actually found it the most useful. It is just saying out loud what you're going to do. And also, most of these tricks can actually be used for anything in general, like not specifically reading. I think there's only 1 or 2 that are specific to reading. These can be used for anything you want to start, be it a sport or learning a new instrument, wanting to learn a new language. You can use this for pretty much anything. So my first trick is to say out loud what you want to do. It sounds crazy, but it works. I think I got this from another YouTuber that suggested this, and I started adding it in, and it works. I just tell myself I'm going to read 20 pages today, and I end up will. I'm also a musician, and I will tell myself I'm going to practice today, and I'll end up practicing. So just saying it out loud gets you, I'm not sure the science behind it, but just hearing it, it gives you the motivation rather than having it in your head. When you actually verbalize what you want to do, it gives you more motivation to actually do the thing. For instance, today I want to get back into doing yoga and stretching, so I'm going to do yoga and stretching today, and we'll see if I actually end up doing it by the end of today. I still have all afternoon. So the next trick, because of the issue, is to just start. And again, this is for anything in general. It always seems to be the just starting that is the hard part. For me, it's the practicing. I tend to overthink, and I think of all the practicing that I have to do, all the pieces that I have to learn, all the technique that I have to do, and I get so flustered and overwhelmed that I end up just not doing it. So the solution is to tell yourself, well, I'm just going to play 1 scale. So I go and I sit down and I play 1 scale, and then I'm enjoying myself, so I end up playing way more than 1 scale, which is what I had planned. So in terms of reading, you can say, well, I'm just going to read 1 page, and you read 1 page, and you feel better about yourself, and then usually you end up just reading more because you're enjoying the book and you're invested in the book by this point, so you end up reading more than 1 page. But if you give yourself tiny, small, little chunks that are manageable, rather than saying, well, I'm going to start reading half an hour every single day, when you normally don't read at all, half an hour is way too much. So another way you can do it is say, well, I'm going to read 5 minutes today, or even 1 minute. You just something. Something is better than nothing, and it helps you to just start, because the hurdle is just never starting because it seems like too much. And this also goes into the next trick that I have. It's kind of related, which is, say you want to read 100 pages a day, which is a lot, but say that's your goal. Rather than trying to sit down in 1 session and read 100 pages all at once, most of the times it's not going to happen because that's a lot. If you break it into, I'm going to read 100 pages over the day, and 10 times throughout the day you read 10 pages, that's a lot more manageable than 1 session of 100. Or say you want to read 30 minutes a day, if you do small sessions of 5 minutes, then you'll get to the 30 minutes very easily. I do this with practicing as well, because my goal is usually 2 hours a day. So I'll chunk it into like half-hour sessions rather than trying to just sit down and practice for 2 hours, because your brain also can't focus for that long. The next tip that I have is to find a book that you actually find interesting. A lot of my issue was that I was growing up and I had the thought that, oh, I'm becoming an adult, I need to read adult books, so I only read classics. And I do like classics. There's a lot of classics I enjoy, like Jane Austen is one of my favorites, but there's also a lot that I did not enjoy. Moby Dick. But reading for the sake of being intelligent or because it's what you're supposed to read, rather than just finding books that you actually find interesting, which I love sci-fi and fantasy, which I basically stopped reading because I thought they were childish or immature, what have you. And now that's mainly what I read because I find it so fascinating. I love sci-fi because of the speculativeness of it. I want to know what if there's aliens, what is out there. So that's why I love these books. To me, they're very, very interesting and I can't put them down. So you need to find books that you can't put down. If you absolutely love romance books, then read as much romance as you like. If you really love true crime or mystery or thriller, read as much of it as you like. Don't listen to what other people tell you what you should or should not be reading, or what society says are good and not good books. If you enjoy it, then that's all that matters. And then the other main tip that unfortunately this one won't work for everyone because some people get motion sickness, but thankfully I never had that issue. But I think it's because I've been doing this basically since I was 3 or 4 years old. My dad would bring us along when he had to go do farm work, so he'd bring us into the tractor, so I would bring coloring books and and then eventually when I could read I would bring books and stuff. So my tip is, when you're the passenger in a car, or if you take the bus or the metro, I call it the metro because I live in Montreal, the subway. So if you take the metro or the subway or a bus or any other kind of public transit where you're not actively driving and you have like downtime, that's when I read. Growing up, that was always the time when I would read. I had an hour bus ride to school every day and an hour on the way home. So I would get 2 hours in every day, just like that. And then, because we grew up very rural, anytime we had to go anywhere, we were in the car. So I always brought a book with me and I got so much reading done. I think that's one of the reasons why I stopped reading so much when I grew up and went to university, because I started driving and I started driving and I was never the passenger anymore, so I never had the chance to read. But now I live in a major city where there's public transit that I take all the time, and then I happen to work with my boyfriend during the day, so I'm in the car with him as a passenger, so my reading has gone way up. So if you have the ability to read in the car without getting sick and you're a passenger, not the driver, then bring a book. Most people, they're on their phone. Bring your book instead of being on the phone. Or alternatively, you can just put ebooks onto your phone. Then that way you might not get motion sick. And the last trick that I'll touch on is to try and use your phone less. I know most of us spend hours just doom scrolling, going on TikTok and Instagram, all that stuff. If you're really invested in trying to read more, a good way is to cut out the social media and to turn that into reading time. For social media and phone use, it sounds simple to just not use your phone as much, but it's very difficult. We are all addicted to our phones, sadly. But one feature that I have found that is very useful is on most phones, you can go into the apps and you can set timers for the apps. So for me, I put 10 or 15 minutes per day. So after you've used Instagram, for example, for 15 minutes, the phone will take you out of the app and it will lock down Instagram for the rest of the day, so you can't use it anymore. So I have found that one feature to be very useful for me, to just put my phone down, because I see it and I think, okay, I've been on my phone too much, and I put my phone down and I go and I do something else. For now, that's all the tips I have for today. Hopefully you found at least one or two that have been useful for you, and hopefully you will have more reading time after this. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can see when I have new videos out that you might find interesting to watch. And I'm also open to suggestions of what you would like me to talk about. Thank you for watching. Happy reading.